There's my audience. My mommy is at pot camp. This is what my daughter tells people when they ask where I am when I disappear to the woods every 2 weeks in June. Hi, my name is Morgan Chimperly, and today I'm going to be telling you about how a pottery workshop has influenced my life as an artist. I've been working with clay for over 15 years, and Pot Camp is short for Pottery Camp, which is short for Weber's Wood Fire. This is a pottery workshop that I've been attending since 2002. Participating in this workshop fuels my creativity year after year. It also keeps me connected to nature and to other artists. There are many steps to the process of creating a piece of clay and then firing it with wood. Every year I attend this workshop, although the process remains the same, the people involved really make for a new experience every time. Factor in the elements, the physically demanding hard work, and people from all over the world for the most part that just met, and each time it's a new experience. Mike Weber was my ceramics professor at UW-Eau Claire. Him and his wife Leslie host a small group of artists on their property every year in June in northern Wisconsin. It is not an easy place to get to. It is located in Herbster, Wisconsin, which is a small town on Lake Superior. But their place is deep in the woods. You have to follow several dirt roads and logging roads, and on your way there you think, where the heck am I and what did I get myself into? There are several campsites on the property, so you get to choose where you set up your tent. There's a communal kitchen. We all outdoor kitchen. We share the space. There's a campfire for cooking, and but other than that, everything takes place outside. We we take a shower from a hose attached to a tree, and we use the outdoor facilities appropriately named Harry. Every time I do this workshop, the weather quickly becomes a main character. When you are living and working outside, it is hard not to be affected by the elements. Whether I'm trying to make the most beautiful mug or just the coffee to put in it, it's hard to ignore the weather. And there's a lot of hard work to be done before that mug becomes a functional piece. The studios are underneath tarps strung to trees, so there's a workstation or a pottery wheel in the center. We do all of our work outside. And for the first couple days, it's called Wet Clay Days, and that's when I create my work. This is me in my workstation creating my piece, and I'm a hand builder, so I make most of my work out of slabs of clay using my hands. So this is one of my pieces here. The weather definitely factors in. If it's rainy, I've seen my pieces collapse due to the extra moisture. If it's hot and sunny, the clay tends to dry faster than I can put on the finishing touches. So the weather totally affects how much work I'm able to make every year. And the work must be completely dry before we start glazing. This is the next step in the process. So I've learned not to get too attached to my pieces because we tend to lose a lot of pieces in this process. So it takes a couple days for everybody to get their pieces glazed. And this is when the workshop shifts from focusing on my individual pieces into the work of the group. Because the next step of the process is to load it all in the kiln. So here's the kiln. It's a 26-foot long Anagama style wood fire kiln. It easily holds over 1,000 pieces. And we start by getting inside the kiln and loading from the back to the front. So there's the communication between the people outside of the kiln handing in the work and the people inside loading the kiln is crucial. And I've done this workshop many times, but I've never seen the kiln loaded the same way twice because it really depends on the size of the work and the amount of work. So it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, getting it all to fit in there. And before we can start the fire, we have to cut a lot of wood. We cut up to 8 cords of wood. So there's chainsaws constantly running, and it kind of turns into an assembly line of people cutting wood and then hauling wood and stacking it near the kiln. So once the wood is cut, then we start a small fire in the front of the kiln. We burn that fire in there for overnight, and then we divide into 3 shifts. There's a morning shift, a swing shift, and a midnight shift, and we fire the kiln for 24 hours a day for 4 days straight. So when we are on shift, the duties include, before we start our shift, we have to brick up the door, and we leave a small opening in the center that's called the stoke hole. And then once we're on shift, it's somebody's job to man the stokehold door, which opens the door so somebody can feed the wood in. So what's happening there. It's very hot inside, as you can tell. And it's also somebody who has an important job of calling for the stoke. That means we watch the chimney for the changes in the smoke, in the amount of smoke, and the color of the smoke, and that tells us when we should add more wood. So we're really working as a team here to make sure the process runs smoothly. We read the internal temperature of the kiln by using what's called cone packs, and they are small pieces of glaze, cone-shaped glaze, that melt at different temperatures. So this one right here is cone 13. That's our target that we want to fire to, and that's almost 2,500 degrees. So when we see that cone starting to melt a little bit, we know we've reached our temperature. So when we've reached our desired temperature, that's when we plug up the kiln, including the chimney and all in the stoke hole. And now it's the hard part. Now we must wait for 5 days before we can peek inside the kiln. So this is when we enjoy northern Wisconsin. We usually have a good old-fashioned fish fry, hang out on Herbster Beach, and have another big bonfire because wood fire potters cannot get enough fire. But we really come together as a group. This is a very special time because the hard work is done, and we've really gotten to know each other and have really become quickly a family. On the last day of the workshop, all the pieces come out. It's a crazy process because the kiln is still usually so hot that it's not uncommon to melt the bottom of your shoes while you're unloading the kiln. We hold what's called a pottery lottery. This means everybody makes a guess on how many pieces were in the kiln, and the closest person to guessing the right number gets a piece from all the artists. But this is also the time that I start to reflect back on my pieces. So once all the pieces are out, we go and collect all the pieces. I walk down the path and pick up my pieces and look at my work again. So when all the pieces are out and counted and the group photo is taken, then I walk down the path and find my pieces and reflect on my own work. However, it is impossible for me to ignore the teamwork that went into completing this process. There's a natural progression to this workshop. I attend to create my work, but I leave deeply connected to the people that put so much energy into firing it. For me, this is a powerful experience. It's hard to say goodbye to the people and the place. I'm so glad that I got to share my Pottery Camp experiences with you today. For me, the creative process goes far beyond the work of art, especially when you decide to gamble with Mother Nature and the fact that you need to rely on others to get the job done. The art I come home with holds a meaning that only those who were there can truly understand, and the memories that I make fuel my creativity throughout the year. Pottery Camp is more than making art. It is a community of diverse people that have come together to brave the elements and burn a lot of wood. In the end, the experience is so rewarding that the pottery is just a bonus. And I asked Mike once why he became a potter, and he told me he didn't become a potter to get rich. He became a potter to lead a rich life. And I absolutely agree with this statement. Thank you so much for listening to my speech today.
Really good.